to be cool about it.
So I've been thinking a lot about the title of the It Girl and its consequential disenfranchisement of women. And this will never be anything more than topical because, Kim, people are dying. To be a woman that engages with her looks and her physical appearance means opening yourself up to something that could potentially be all-consuming, unrelenting, and if you go down the rabbit hole, eventually you will be in competition with the It Girl. And it's an important conversation to have because it's something that women don't explicitly say, but we all universally feel. It requires a bit of media literacy in order to engage with it in a reasonable way, because it can quickly become like shameful and villainous and shallow to engage with your looks, which it isn't. For millennia, women have always had self-care routines, and it's feminine to do a little of this, a little of that, just to spruce up the place. And there are so many directions that I can take this in, but I'll start with the It Girl. There are two things that will always be true about the It Girl. She will always exist, and she will always be replaced. And this figure is damaging in little and big ways, and she's weaponized by people that do not know her to say, yeah, you're hot, but not It Girl hot. And you can insert whomever they choose to compare you to. It does not matter. The objective and the result is the same. It's used to make women compete with one another and make them insecure. And usually when a man makes a statement like that, it's very quick, very matter of fact, very arrogant, but not so much as nodding to the fact that he was manipulated, just like everyone else, into believing that this girl, this woman of the moment, is the most valuable, beautiful person in the entire world. And they're running around saying it like it's a fact. But she's only an It Girl because the right people chanted her name in the right room and convinced you she was. You were conditioned to believe this narrative by repeated exposure to idealistic images under unrealistic conditions. Everything was operating in tandem so that this face could appear on your screens, in your advertisements, buzzing in conversation so that this person could be your It Girl. This person feels very empowered, like they had full autonomy in making this decision, like choosing this person was an original choice, made of their own free will, and insulting you at their expense was another choice. Again, very original. And none of this is to put down any It Girl. I'm fairly certain any It Girl would admit to what I'm about to say. They weren't chosen because they were an It Girl. They were chosen to be an It Girl. Because let's say this girl had a 1 in a million face, there would still be thousands of girls with that level of beauty. That you don't know their name and you wouldn't remember them forever if you passed them in the airport. No, this girl was selected, marketed for your consumption to be your dream girl, and you calling her that? Welcome to the machine, it just worked on you. It Girls are given perfect hands, expert styling, perfect lighting, Michelangelo level makeup artists, the best cameras, award-winning photographers, and the best hairstylist money could buy to achieve an image, a video, a photo, for society to admire. And don't forget, it was likely that she was restricting her diet on the day of the shoot. So no, you're not really worshiping the It Girl, you're worshiping her team and the collective effort. You're not worshiping an It Girl on her best day. You're worshiping her on an impossible to replicate day. And that's the day the average woman is trying to recreate. That's the day the average woman is competing with. But you're also competing with this enormous lie that the It Girl is like effortlessly this way. Like she's so cool and uncontrived. We should try again with that one. Sorry, please excuse my heater gremlin. But people are trying to convince you that, this person is like supernatural and they were raised off of like supernatural crops that, made them come out of the womb with extensions stapled to their scalp. The truth is the average It Girl cannot compete with herself in 2 years' time, but that's not even relevant because before that even happens, she will be replaced by the next It Girl. The ex-It Girl will be left feeling like she got replaced by bigger and better. No, she just got replaced by different. You see this over and over again. This isn't even kind of shocking or newsworthy. Very recently, last season's It Girl got photographed. And the way the public responded to it, you would have thought that she got bit by a rabid animal and was frothing at the mouth. But a normal girl would look at that and be like, yeah, that's a girl in the real world. They were like, oh, she's really fallen off. That's what an unposed body looks like. Perhaps after drinking some water, maybe a light salad. That's what a woman looks like when the sun touches like some of her flaws. It's shocking because it's like, have they never met like a real girl in real life? Like IRL girls? Anyways, the pattern will always repeat itself. The It Girl fell off. And the girl next door will be replaced by like the shapely exotic woman. And then next year she'll be replaced by like the all-American girl. And none of them could ever try to be one another. One of them was trying to attain the look before it. They simply couldn't. They could never be pretty like that. And then like the conversation becomes like, well, who is the perfect 10? None of them. And all of them. The perfect 10 is an illusion. Women are beautiful, a gift given to Earth. Truly. Let's discuss the disgusting numerical ratings and their role in disenfranchising women. There's a universal rank and a personal rank. They say a woman is a 10 if she's perfect. That would be her universal rank. She's a universal 10. And then whatever your personal rank to yourself, you can kind of, it's like a sliding scale. Like, are you having a good day? Good. This is a 10 for me, right? And then on your bad day, you would slip below that. But the it girl's personal and universal rank gets manipulated by a coordinated effort, by like a certain aura that's cast upon her. And her numbers are manipulated in the way the average woman could never compete with. And the it girl, she herself can't compete with it either. And we as a society decide to overlook that a lot. And then, it takes an even bigger twist when the already established it girl decides to get surgery to enhance her beauty. The 10 is going out and getting work done to become an 11, improving upon already recognized perfection. But is she improving, or is she just becoming a different kind of 10? The answer is yes, and also no. It's another illusion. These women are not real. To 99% of the population, these women are not real. And these women would agree that parts of their image are not real, but even the parts that are, these women are not real to 99% of the population. 99% of the population will never see, hear, touch, or share the same air as these it girls. Yet the average woman is being compared to and being made to compete with this woman that to 99% of people is not real. Yet the average woman does hold herself to that standard because once you get on that ride, you really can't get off. You can't uncompare yourself to someone, and you don't really stop. And so now the writing on the wall says that you have to do all these things that require quite a bit of research and learning. When I was a kid, I went to school with girls that were really pretty, and I was like, okay, that's their thing. I'm gonna do something else. I just had different interests and different motivating forces at the time. But looking back, I had so much time, so much freedom. When I had that mindset, it was incredible how much time in a day I had. The minutes that accumulate between choosing your outfit, styling your hair, learning how to style your hair, doing your makeup, buying your makeup, learning how to do your makeup, getting your nails done, correcting your posture, getting a good camera, learning how to take good photos, learning how to accessorize, perfecting your diet, perfecting your skincare. These things could literally take up an entire day, and that's not an exaggeration. It's not even kind of a stretch. I went to college and was a cheerleader in the SEC, and hair and makeup was part of the uniform. And I felt I was at a real academic disadvantage because not only was my sport taking time with practices and games, but the time to prep to get ready to be at that sport with my hair and makeup done, it was significant. And the learning curve was steep for me. I didn't know how to do any of it. And eventually I came to enjoy it, but it's such a tedious journey. It's such a pain point. And it's something that we all suffer together. And it's like this eventually coming to the conclusion, I like this, I'll keep doing it. But damn, on the way there, it really blows. And then the process of learning to take a photo. You have to learn how to take a photo. A lot of those girls aren't photogenic. It takes practice, like any skill. You need to decide if it's worth it to you. And because you can only do so much. And this is what I think is important for girls to hear. The reality of womanhood, the growing pains of womanhood, certain things that society just skips over and fails to tell women. We're just expected to kind of know these things or have figured them out, but we don't discuss them all that much. At baseline, you will know as much as you see your mom doing and your sisters. You'll know how to do their hair if they know how to do their hair, their makeup, their skincare, their preferences for perfume and jewelry. You'll steal their clothing and bags. Otherwise, you just have to pick it up. If not, you'll walk around thinking these girls just wake up like that they just knew how to do it. But these things, they're much easier when you're exposed to them. When you're knowledgeable at a younger age, it just becomes part of your daily routine that you incorporate seamlessly. Otherwise, you gotta hack it yourself, and it's not easy. Each of these things is an individual profession. Yet women feel the weight of the burden to carry each of these skills proficiently and effortlessly. I never took as many photos as I did when I got to college as a cheerleader. You were just photographed a lot. By the end of 4 years, I got it. I was like, that is not my angle. That's 4 years of unintended skill acquisition. After 4 years, I learned how to take a decent photo. But is it worth it to put several hours a week into this skill just to take a good photo? Because I promise you can do it. It just isn't a big deal to not have that skill. It will only feel like it. And it might contribute to your negative self-image, although it shouldn't. And you might feel left out, I don't have as many pictures as the other people. But women can never win. They can never like themselves for too long. There's always something. But models just aren't good at what they do overnight. It takes practice. They practice in the mirror. like a scrub, making faces and such. They go out and shoot during the best time of the day and they hope they get that photo. And if they don't, they have to just either suck it up, take that one, or do it on a whole other day. That's a waste of a day. And they take thousands and thousands of photos to just get one. They were also getting paid. And that's not even considering editing. Let's get into editing. And let's talk about self-editing while we're at it. Editing is a slippery slope. You need to decide if it's worth getting on the merry-go-round. I'm not trying to preach like puritanical values of like, oh yeah, like don't do that, that's bad. But it does change the way you see yourself. So you see it at first, oh, I'm just gonna make my photos a little zazzy. These things have unintended consequences. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you telling yourself that you're not good enough as is, and I'm just gonna make a little edit on this photo. And you might think that that's extreme, but it really isn't. On a day when you don't feel good, you're gonna go back to that photo. You're gonna zoom in, and you are going to feel like a failure. You're going to say, you're going to spiral and say, like, my life is out of control. Because you're going to be comparing yourself to a version of you that never existed. You go from having, like, an acne breakout to looking at this photo to running to the mirror and picking at your face. And you might think that's extreme, but it's not. Your mind makes those leaps for you. And that was where I drew the line in the sand. I said, I'm not mature enough for this. I cannot use this app responsibly. When the app first came out, I realized you could smooth your skin, and I'm like really like, I love skin, like it's just my thing. And listen, my skin is not perfect, like, and I would do it on days when my skin, I would go back, I would zoom in, I would see no texture, and I'd be like, immediate self-loathing. So I had to take all those photos down and delete that app. Not good for your mental health. And now you could literally go in and zoom in on my photos and you'll see like a pimple patch or texture. And I find that really comforting. But then again, I also did buy another camera that like just takes better quality photos too. And I'm older. And so like, I know a lot of these things that people just don't know off rip. But even about a year ago, like I will ebb and flow. About a year ago, I really was like, everyone's really stepping their photo game up. Like overnight, everyone was making perfect eye contact with the camera. And at this point, like, no editing. I was just accepting that my photos were never going to be perfect. But I was like, damn, like, everyone else is really, And it turns out they had come out with, like, a new feature on the editing app, which is Facetune. That'll do it. That shit enhanced people's photos so much. Because all these photos, they had a similar quality to them. They all looked like models, but they all looked more specifically like one model, the Facetune model. I just didn't know it. But my friend showed it to me, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's FaceApp. They use the edit feature and they could toggle it all the way to the bottom, but even just like a little, it's a obvious enhancement. And the look of it, it's a homogeneous look. If you know what to look for, you'll be able to catch it. But if you're a 13-year-old, you'll just say like, wow, my face is just way worse than theirs. Like my face is broken, my face just sucks. The body editing, don't do it to yourself, don't do it to yourself, don't do it to yourself. Not worth it. Do not start body hating practices. Your relationship with the thing that literally keeps you going, keeps you alive, is so much more important than whatever you're trying to prove by like modifying your body. Please, please, please. Once you start the war with your body, you never fully get back on the same team. I've heard girls talk about their excruciating battles with their body. I promise sometimes we can acknowledge a path is hard without going on it ourselves. You will save a lot of time not going down that path. Just don't start. And kind of along that same vine, you never know what someone's going through to appear like that. Never, ever compare yourself to someone that has been severely restricting or has been hospitalized. And I know you're not always going to know, but that's also just like why you can't really compare. You don't know what they're doing. You can never know, but the obsession society has with malnourished women is twisted, and the way it's reinforced is criminal. And you never know what people have had done, like enhancements to look that way. And I don't necessarily think they owe you that transparency either. It's their decision and it really doesn't have anything to do with you. But also because so many women in media have had these big surgeries done, they're trivialized when surgery is very serious. And once again, I'm not trying to be puritanical, like, you can't have anything done like the natural way is the best way. But it's not meant to be like no big deal either. Like surgery and anesthesia are usually things you want to avoid if you can. Surgery is a serious thing every time you do it. And just because you're doing it for cosmetic reasons doesn't make it less serious. Ultimately, only you can decide if the ends justify the means. But it isn't just that. It's Botox, it's lip injections, it's eyelash extensions, and filler. None of these are one-time things. These become a maintenance routine. Once you get on that ride, you're on it for life. And now it becomes a financial obligation. Money you had the autonomy to do anything with now becomes allocated for these things. And I think that's part of the disenfranchisement of it all. Like that is how deeply insidious and problematic the beauty standard is because it digs into our pockets. There are women that don't have 6 months of rent saved, yet Botox that month is a priority. Preventative Botox at that. The fear of aging and therefore the risk of wrinkling is so prevalent that Botox has become a new staple. It's a new standard in the average woman's beauty routine. And it's shocking. It's shocking how normalized it's become. And once again, I don't judge anyone that elects to uphold these practices. But at the end of the day, no one should feel pressure to subscribe to these practices, for fear of being well, I have to get Botox because if I don't, I'm behind. I can't be the one face that doesn't have Botox. And it's silly, but it's real. These are real conversations that women my age are having at dinner tables. And it's a similar sentiment to how I feel about makeup. There are times where I feel so exhausted that I don't want to do my makeup, but I know I have to. I have to put on just a little because if I don't, my face will look a little too informal. It'll be out of keeping to the environment that I'm about to walk into. And that's truly how we create unrealistic beauty standards and subsequently pressure on women because it feels we have to do something because if we don't, there's this subconscious penalty that we get. If we don't buy in, we're at a disadvantage. You can say it as much as you want. This is clearly not the biggest deal in the world, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting to be a woman and it's unrelenting. You spend all day doing your makeup just to wipe it off at the end of the day. And then the next day you just got to do it all over again. And it just deeply bothers me how when I was younger, when I was a kid, I was deeply detached from my femininity and I had so much time back. There was so much real estate in my brain. And it's true, just the constant pressure and the concept of an it girl really just anchors deep in our psyche. And it's disenfranchising in that it robs us of our time, our energy, and our capacity to feel good about ourselves without modification or enhancement or disciplined routines. We are in endless preparation for a seemingly never coming event. I'll go on vacation after I get my dream body. I can't go to dinner, my hair's dirty. And to understand this struggle is to understand womanhood. We feel like these things are too small to complain about. But we don't, but we really struggle with these other things that gnaw at us. Because there are parts of this that I like, dare I say love, and things I would argue to death to keep. And in a way, I'm almost attached to my objectification. I don't want to part with the most irritating parts of what seems like a mental illness that has enraptured an entire gender. And I feel guilty about it. But what we're missing is the conversational piece that lets women discuss what about this is oppressive versus what about this feels empowering. Admitting the parts of femininity that don't feel good. Acknowledging I'm such a lucky girl and there are bigger problems in the world, but do any other women feel shame in the same way? Womanhood is not pretty and these conversations need to be for us and with us. But we're missing the part of the conversation that does not judge someone that chooses to edit or to not edit their photos. Or get work done versus don't get any surgery. Or limit your diet as opposed to indulge in whatever you please. We seem to be inequipped to have these conversations without starting something controversial that stops the entire discussion in its tracks. And I think women operate best when we're not at each other's throats. We're all so scared to be labeled a pick-me that none of us can acknowledge that we have all been a pick-me at one point. Being a human is embarrassing, but being a woman has a bit of a kick to it. I've done some really weird things, but I think if I was to admit it and share it with a group of girls, they'd be like, yeah, me too. Fortunately, feeling shame and unease is a rite of passage for us. But nothing feels worse than having girls make fun of something that you didn't even know you were doing, or worse, something they do too but pretend they don't. I'll wrap by saying the it girl is a personification of everything we expect ourselves to be without any of the acknowledgement of how difficult it is to be a woman. But is it that we can't live up to the standard of the it girl, or is it that the it girl couldn't live up to the standard that we held her to? I think the answer is both.